Part 1. The exchange program. The shuttle landed at Seoul, spaceport on a gray morning in March. Rain fell softly from the clouds, and the air smelled like wet earth and something the aliens could not name. 12 students from 3 different species stepped off the ship and onto Earth. For the first time, they were terrified. Ambassador Yuna waited for them at the landing pad. She was a tall woman with short black hair and a calm smile. She had served in the military for 15 years before becoming a diplomat. Now her job was to make aliens feel welcome on Earth. It was not an easy job. The first species to exit were the Veloth. They looked like tall columns of blue light with thin tendrils for arms. Their bodies were almost transparent, and humans could see their internal organs moving slowly inside them. The Veloth came from a moon called Sereth, where there was no weather, no seasons, and no danger. Their world was perfectly stable. Nothing ever changed there. The second species were the Korath. They looked like giant insects with hard shells and many legs. Their faces had large black eyes and clicking mandibles. The Korath came from a planet that did not rotate. One side always faced the sun, and one side was always dark. They lived in the thin strip of twilight between the two sides, where the temperature was just right. The third species were the Mavari. They did not have solid bodies at all. They were clouds of colored gas held together by a thin membrane. They floated instead of walking. The Mavari came from a world with very low gravity, where everything was soft and slow. All 12 students had one thing common. They had read Earth's official classification in the Galactic database. Earth was listed as a Class 7 Deathworld. This meant it was one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy, where intelligent life had evolved. The students had volunteered for this exchange program to prove their courage. Now, standing on the wet ground with rain falling on their bodies, they were starting to regret that decision. Yuna bowed to them in the Korean style. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "I am Ambassador Yuna. I will take care of you during your stay." A young Veloth named Prin raised one of his tendrils. "Ambassador, the water is falling from the sky." "Yes," Yuna said. "We call it rain. Is it dangerous?" Yuna paused. She had answered this question many times before. "No, rain is just water. It falls from clouds." "But it is touching us," Prin said. His voice was worried. "It is touching our bodies without permission. That is normal here. You will get used to it." The aliens did not look convinced. Yuna led them to a large vehicle waiting nearby. Inside, they met Professor Taiho, who would be their teacher for the next 3 months. Taiho was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent his whole life studying alien cultures. He understood that everything on Earth would be strange and scary to these visitors. His teaching assistant was a young woman named Hannah. She had a bright smile and a cheerful voice. Her job was to help the aliens with daily life. She gave each student a small device that would translate their language into Korean and Korean into their language. "Your dormitories are ready," Hannah said. "They have special climate control for each species. You will be comfortable there." A Korath student named Vikal made a clicking sound with his mandibles. "We have studied Earth's classification reports. Your planet has extreme temperature changes, violent weather, seismic activity, and millions of predatory species. How do you survive here?" Taiho smiled. "Carefully," he said. The vehicle drove through the streets of Seoul. The alien students pressed against the windows, watching the human city pass by. Tall buildings rose into the gray sky. Millions of people walked on the streets below. Cars and buses moved in every direction. It was loud and crowded and overwhelming. "So many humans," Prin whispered. "So many, living so close together." "Seoul has about 10 million people," Hannah explained. 10 million? Olex, a Mavari student, floated higher in alarm. "On our world, Our largest city has 50,000. How do you not go insane?" Hannah laughed. "Some of us do, probably." The aliens did not understand the joke. They arrived at the campus as evening approached. The dormitory was a tall building with special rooms for each species. The Velith had rooms with controlled lighting. The Korath had rooms with hard surfaces for their shells. The Mavari had rooms with low-gravity generators so they could float freely. Taiho gathered them in a common room for a final meeting. "Tomorrow, your education begins," he said. "You will learn about Earth's history, culture, and environment. You will go on field trips. You will meet ordinary humans. By the end of 3 months, you will understand our world." Prin raised his tendril again. "Professor, I must ask. The classification says Earth is a death world. But humans have no natural weapons. You have no claws, no venom, no armor. Your bodies are soft. How is the classification accurate?" Taiho and Yuna looked at each other. There was something in their eyes that the aliens could not read. It might have been amusement. It might have been something else. "You will understand soon," Taiho said. "For now, rest. You will need your strength." That night, the aliens tried to sleep. But sleep did not come easily. At midnight, the sky outside turned white. A massive flash of light filled the windows, followed by a sound so loud it shook the building. The alien students screamed. They ran from their rooms into the hallways, convinced that Earth was under attack. Hannah found them huddled together in the common room, trembling. "What is wrong?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. She had been sleeping peacefully. The sky exploded. Vikal shouted. There was light and sound and the building moved. Hannah looked out the window. Rain was falling harder now. Lightning flashed again, and thunder rolled across the city. "Oh," she said. "It is just a thunderstorm." "Just?" Prin's form flickered with fear. "The atmosphere is detonating. It is electricity in the clouds. It happens all the time." The alien stared at her. This small human woman was standing calmly while the sky itself seemed to be tearing apart. She yawned and stretched her arms. "Go back to sleep," she said. "It will pass by morning." She returned to her room as if nothing had happened. Prin looked at his fellow students. Then he looked at the window, where lightning continued to flash. Then he opened his communication device and sent a message to the Galactic Council. "Request immediate extraction," he wrote. "The humans live beneath explosive atmospheric phenomena. They are not alarmed. I believe they may be insane. Please advise." The response came 2 hours later. "Request denied. Continue observation. This is why you were sent." Prin put away his device and watched the storm until sunrise. He did not sleep at all. None of them did. Part 2. Lessons in Survival. The first week on Earth was an education in terror. Professor Taiho believed in hands-on learning. He did not want the alien students to stay inside the safe dormitory. He wanted them to experience Earth directly. So on the third day, he announced they would go on a nature walk. "A walk?" Vikal asked. "Outside? In the open environment?" "Yes," Taiho said. "There is a forest near the campus. Very beautiful this time of year." The aliens put on protective suits designed for hostile environments. They carried emergency beacons and medical kits. They looked like they were preparing for war. Hannah wore a light jacket and sneakers. The forest was green and alive. Trees reached toward the sky. Birds sang in the branches. Small animals moved through the bushes. Sunlight filtered through the leaves and created patterns on the ground. To the aliens, it looked like chaos. "There are so many species," Oleg said. The Mavari student floated close to the group, afraid to drift away. "All living together. Do they not compete? Do they not kill each other?" "Of course they do," Taiho said. That is nature. Everything eats something else. That is horrifying. That is life. They walked along a dirt path. Hannah pointed out different plants and explained their names. The aliens tried to pay attention, but they were distracted by every sound, every movement, every shadow. Then disaster struck. Olex floated too close to a bush covered in yellow flowers. A cloud of tiny particles rose from the flowers and covered the Mavari student's membrane. Within seconds, Olex's body began to swell. "I am under attack," Olex screamed. "The plant is releasing weapons. Help me." Hannah ran over and looked at Olex carefully. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small pill. "You are not under attack," she said calmly. "This is pollen. It is how the flowers reproduce. You are having an allergic reaction. Take this medicine. The flowers are reproducing on me? The pollen is in the air everywhere during spring. Humans have the same reaction sometimes. We call it allergy season." Olex took the pill. The swelling slowly went down. But the Mavari student refused to go near any more plants for the rest of the walk. A few minutes later, they passed a small stream. Human children were playing in the water. They splashed each other and laughed. Their parents sat nearby, watching and smiling. Vikal stopped walking. His mandibles clicked rapidly, which meant he was very upset. "Professor," he said, "those small humans are putting their bodies in the water." "Yes, they are swimming." "Swimming?" "They are submerging themselves in liquid. Their bodies will absorb too much water. Their cells will explode." "Humans are about 60% water already," Taiho explained. "A little more will not hurt us. Swimming is fun." "Fun?" Vikal repeated the word like he had never heard it before. "Risking cellular destruction is fun." "Very much so." Vikal watched the children play. He could not understand. On his world, water was carefully controlled and measured. No one would ever submerge themselves in it. The idea was insane, but the children looked happy. They were laughing and shouting with joy. One of them waved at the aliens. Vikal did not wave back. He was too confused. The nature walk ended without any more incidents. But the aliens' education was just beginning. That afternoon, Hannah took them to the campus cafeteria for lunch. Human students filled the large room, eating and talking and laughing. The noise was overwhelming. Hannah helped the aliens find food that was safe for their species. The Veloth could absorb certain liquids. The Korath could eat plant matter. The Mavari could filter nutrients from specially prepared gas mixtures. But the aliens were not interested in their own food. They were watching what the humans ate. A young Korean man named Jiwoo sat down at their table. He was a student volunteer who helped with the exchange program. He had a friendly face and messy black hair. "Oh," he said. "Mind if I join you? I want to practice talking with aliens." "Please sit," Prince said. The Veloth had become the unofficial leader of the alien group. "We have questions. Ask anything." Jiwoo opened his lunch container. Inside was rice, some vegetables, meat, and a pile of red fermented vegetables. 3 Veloth students fainted immediately. "What happened?" Jiwoo jumped up in alarm. "Are they okay?" "The smell," Prince said weakly. "What is that red substance?" "This, it is kimchi. Fermented cabbage. Very normal Korean food. Fermented? You mean rotted? You deliberately let your food rot, and then you eat it?" Jiwoo thought about this. "Yes, I guess that is accurate. Fermentation uses bacteria to change the food. It makes it taste better. You cultivate bacteria? Microorganisms that cause disease? Some bacteria are good for you. They help with digestion." Prince's form flickered. He had learned about bacteria in his xenobiology classes. On most worlds, bacteria were enemies. They caused illness and death. Civilizations spent enormous resources trying to eliminate them. Humans grew them on purpose, and then ate them. What else do you eat? Vikal asked. He was horrified, but also curious. Jiwoo pointed at different items. Rice, beef, vegetables. What are those red flakes on the beef? Pepper flakes. They make food spicy. Spicy? Hannah leaned in. Spicy means it causes a burning sensation in the mouth. The chemical that causes it is called capsaicin. In large amounts, it can be used as a weapon. You put weapons in your food? It tastes good. The aliens looked at each other. They had studied Earth's classification reports. They knew this planet was dangerous, but they had assumed the danger came from outside, from predators and weather and earthquakes. They had not expected the humans themselves to be so strange. Over the next few days, they learned more. They learned that humans kept predators as pets. Dogs were descended from wolves, which were pack hunters. Cats were small but deadly killers. Yet humans let these animals live in their homes, sleep in their beds, and eat from their hands. You trust a predator to sleep next to your face? Vikal asked Jiwoo one evening. My cat is very sweet. Her name is Matcha, but she has claws and teeth designed for killing. She only uses them on furniture. They learned that humans deliberately exposed themselves to the sun, which emitted harmful radiation. This was called tanning. They learned that humans consumed a poison called alcohol for recreation. They learned that humans jumped out of flying vehicles with only a piece of fabric to slow their fall. This was called skydiving. Every day brought new horrors, but the aliens also noticed something else. The humans were not stupid. They knew their world was dangerous. They knew the food they ate and the activities they enjoyed carried risks. They just did not care. Or rather, they had decided that living fully was worth the danger. Prin watched Jiwoo eat his spicy, fermented lunch with obvious enjoyment. He watched Hannah talk about her weekend hiking trip like it was nothing special. He watched human students run across the campus in the rain, laughing instead of seeking shelter. These creatures had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day. And instead of becoming fearful and cautious, they had become bold and curious. Did not make sense. Not yet. But Prin was starting to suspect that understanding humans would require more than reading classification reports. It would require seeing them face real danger. He did not know that real danger was coming soon. Part 3. The field trip ambassador Yuna believed the alien students needed a break. They had spent 2 weeks learning about Earth, and most of that time they had been terrified. She thought a trip somewhere beautiful might help them relax. She chose Jeju Island. It was a popular vacation spot for Koreans. The beaches were clean. The air was fresh. The scenery was stunning. She did not consider that Jeju Island was formed by a volcano. The journey to Jeju began at the airport. The alien students had traveled through space in starships. They had crossed the galaxy using jump drives that bent the fabric of reality. They thought they understood transportation. They did not understand airplanes. You want us to enter a metal tube, Prince said slowly. That will be thrown through the atmosphere at 900 kilometers per hour, held up by nothing but air pressure under thin wings. It is very safe, Hannah assured them. Millions of people fly every day. Safe? There is nothing above you but sky. If anything goes wrong, you fall. That almost never happens. Almost? In the end, Taiho had to give the alien students mild sedatives. They slept through the entire flight. When they woke up, they were on Jeju Island, and Hannah was offering them water and snacks. Never again, Vikal swore. I will walk home if I must. Jeju was beautiful. Even the aliens had to admit this. The sky was blue. The ocean sparkled in the sunlight. Green mountains rose in the distance. Professor Taiho led them to a famous rock formation near the coast. Tall columns of black stone stood like soldiers along the shore. Waves crashed against them, sending white spray into the air. This is called Juzangjioli, Taiho explained. These columns were formed when hot lava met cold ocean water. They cooled very quickly and cracked into these shapes. Prin stared at the rocks. Lava? You mean molten rock from inside the planet? Yes. Jeju Island was created by volcanic eruptions. The whole island is actually a volcano. Silence. We are standing on a volcano? Olex's membrane turned pale. Yes, it is dormant now. Mostly. Mostly? It has not erupted in about 5,000 years. Scientists do not expect another eruption anytime soon. But it could happen? Taiho shrugged. Anything could happen. But the soil here is very fertile because of the volcanic minerals. That is why the island has such beautiful plants. The aliens looked at the flowers growing between the rocks. They looked at the trees on the hills. They looked at the villages built on the slopes of the volcano. Humans had built their homes on a mountain that could explode at any time. And they had done it because the dirt was good for farming. Vikkel made a sound that his translator could not interpret. It might have been disbelief. It might have been despair. After the rock formation, Yuna took them to a beach. The plan was to relax by the water and have a quiet lunch. But quiet was not what they found. An old woman was working at the edge of the water. She wore a black wetsuit and carried a net and tools. Her face was weathered by sun and salt. She must have been at least 70 years old. As the aliens watched, the old woman took a deep breath and dove into the ocean. She disappeared under the waves. Where did she go? Prin asked. Should we help her? She is fine, Hana said. She is a Hanyu, a sea woman. They dive for seafood without any breathing equipment. Without equipment? How long can she stay underwater? Some of them can hold their breath for 2 or 3 minutes. The old woman surfaced. In her net, she held several sea creatures with shells and tentacles. She threw them into a floating basket and dove again. She is hunting, Olex observed. At her age, in that cold water, without technology. The Hanya have been doing this for hundreds of years, Yuna said proudly. Some of them dive until they are 80 or 90 years old. It is a tradition on Jeju. Prin watched the old woman dive again and again. She moved through the water like she belonged there. She showed no fear, no hesitation. The ocean that could kill her so easily was just her workplace. That evening, Jiwoo arranged a traditional Korean barbecue for the group. He set up a grill in a restaurant near the beach and invited the aliens to watch how Koreans cook meat. Fire burned on the table. You cook with open flame? Vikkel moved away from the grill. Inside a building? Near flammable materials? Yes, it is delicious. Watch. Jiwoo placed thin slices of beef on the grill. The meat sizzled and smoked. The smell filled the room. When it is cooked, you wrap it in a lettuce leaf with rice and sauce. Like this. He demonstrated, then popped the whole thing into his mouth. Perfect. What is that red sauce? Samjang. It is made with fermented soybean paste and red pepper paste. More fermentation. More pepper. Yes, it is the Korean way. Hannah also wrapped some meat and ate it. She smiled with satisfaction. You should try it. We prepared some safe versions for your species. The aliens had been given modified food that would not harm them. But Prin surprised everyone. I want to try the human version, he said. Everyone stared at him. The other Velith students made sounds of alarm. Prin, it could hurt you, Hana warned. Your body is not designed for this food. I have watched humans for 2 weeks now. You eat fire and poison and rotted vegetables. You swim in oceans and sleep with predators and live on volcanoes. I want to understand why. Jiwoo looked at Taiho. The professor thought for a moment, then nodded slowly. Give him a small piece. Very small. We will monitor his reaction. Jiwoo wrapped a tiny piece of meat with a tiny piece of lettuce and held it out to Prin. The Veloth extended a tendril and absorbed the food into his body. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Prin's form flickered with colors no one had ever seen before. His tendrils waved wildly. Are you okay? Hana reached for her medical kit. I am experiencing sensations, Prin said. His voice was strange. There is heat. There is complex flavor. There is something I do not have a word for. Pain? Vikal asked. No, not pain. It is alive. The food is alive inside me. Prin's colors slowly returned to normal. I understand now. I understand a little. Understand what? Why you do these things. Why you eat fire and dive into oceans and build homes on volcanoes. It is not because you do not know the danger. It is because the danger makes everything more. He searched for the word. More real. Jiwoo smiled. That is a very human way to think. Perhaps that is the problem. Perhaps that is why your planet is so dangerous. Not because of the environment. Prin looked at his classmates. But because of what the environment has done to your minds. You have learned to love the things that can kill you. Yuna raised her glass of water. Welcome to Earth, Prin. You are beginning to understand. They ate and talked late into the night. For the first time, the aliens did not feel like prisoners on a hostile world. They felt like students learning something important, but the most important lesson was still coming. And it would not be taught in a classroom or on a field trip. It would be taught by fire. Part 4. The incident, the earthquake came at 3:47. In the morning, Prin was dreaming when the building began to shake. At first, he thought the dream had become strange. Then he realized he was awake, and the floor was moving beneath him. He screamed and ran into the hallway. The other aliens were already there, crying and shouting and holding onto the walls. The lights flickered. Somewhere, glass broke. Then it stopped. The shaking lasted only 12 seconds. But to the alien students, it felt like a lifetime. Hana appeared at the end of the hallway. She was wearing pajamas and looked sleepy. Is everyone okay? She asked. The ground moved. Vikal shouted. His many legs were trembling. The foundation of your planet betrayed us. The solid Earth is not solid. It was just an earthquake. Maybe a 4 or 4.2. Nothing serious. Nothing serious? The world itself attacked us. Hannah yawned. Korea gets small earthquakes sometimes. This one was very mild. Did anyone get hurt? No one was hurt. The building was designed for earthquakes. The furniture was secured. The windows were reinforced. Everything had shaken, but nothing had broken. Go back to sleep, Hana said. We have class tomorrow. She returned to her room like nothing had happened. The aliens did not go back to sleep. They sat together in the common room until sunrise, watching the floor suspiciously, waiting for it to betray them again. In the morning, they asked Professor Taiho about earthquakes. Earth's crust is not one solid piece, he explained. It is made of many plates that float on liquid rock. Sometimes these plates move against each other. That causes earthquakes. The ground is floating on liquid rock? Olex was horrified. And you build cities on it? Well, you not have much choice. The whole planet is like this. How do you live with such uncertainty? How do you sleep knowing the ground might shake at any moment? Taiho smiled sadly. We get used to it. Humans are good at getting used to dangerous things. We have to be. 3 days later, the aliens learned what that really meant. It started with smoke. Prin noticed it first. A gray haze appeared on the horizon north of Seoul. By afternoon, the sky had turned orange, and the air smelled like burning wood. "There is a fire in the mountains," Ji-woo explained. He was watching the news on his phone. His face was worried. "A wildfire. It started this morning, and it is spreading fast." "A fire in the wild? How does that happen?" "Sometimes lightning strikes a dry tree. Sometimes humans are careless. Sometimes it just happens. This one is very bad. The wind is strong today." Ambassador Yuna arrived at the dormitory that evening. She looked tired and stressed. "We are evacuating you to a safe facility," she said. "The fire is not close to Seoul yet, but the air quality is getting bad. Your species might be sensitive to smoke." The aliens were taken to a government building with filtered air and sealed windows. They could not see the fire from there, but they could see the news. Humans were running toward the flames. Prin watched the screen without understanding. Young men and women in yellow suits charged into walls of smoke and fire. They carried tools and hoses. Helicopters flew overhead, dropping water. Trucks rolled through burning forests. "What are they doing?" he asked. "They are firefighters," Ji-woo said. He had come with them to the safe facility. Their job is to fight the fire and stop it from spreading. Their job? They are paid to walk into death? Some are paid. Some are volunteers. Volunteers? They choose to do this? Without being forced. Ji-woo nodded. His eyes were fixed on the screen. "My uncle was a firefighter. He said it was the most important work he ever did." Prin watched the humans on the screen. They were so small compared to the fire. The flames towered above them, hot enough to melt metal, fast enough to outrun any creature. Yet they did not run away. They moved forward, meter by meter, fighting for every piece of ground. The fire burned for 2 days. The aliens stayed in the safe facility and watched the news constantly. They saw firefighters collapse from exhaustion and get carried away by their teammates. They saw people lose their homes and weep in the streets. They saw communities come together to provide food and shelter for those who had lost everything. And they saw the firefighters keep going. No matter how tired they were, no matter how dangerous it became, they kept going. On the second night, the news showed an old farmer named Dong-ho. He had refused to evacuate his farm. When the fire came close, he fought it himself with wet blankets and buckets of water. He saved his animals and his crops. Why did he not leave? Vikal asked. He could have died. It was his home, Hana said simply. His family had farmed that land for 5 generations. He would rather die than abandon it. That is not logical. No, it is human. On the 3rd day, the fire was finally contained. It had burned thousands of acres of forest. Dozens of buildings were destroyed. Many people were hurt. And 11 firefighters were in the hospital. 2 of them had died. The whole country mourned. Professor Taiho took the alien students to a memorial service for the fallen firefighters. They stood at the back of a large crowd and watched humans cry and hold each other. Pictures of the dead firefighters were displayed at the front. One was a young woman named Yeri. She was 26 years old. She had been a firefighter for only 3 years. She had died when a burning tree fell on her, while she was helping a family escape their home. The other was an older man named Sang-ho. He was 52 years old. He had been a firefighter for 28 years. He had died of smoke inhalation while rescuing a child who had been trapped. Their families stood at the front, receiving condolences from hundreds of strangers. The families cried, but they also stood with dignity. They were proud of what their loved ones had done. Prin watched in silence. He had seen death before. His species lived for hundreds of years, but eventually everyone died. Death was a part of existence, but this was different. These humans had chosen death. They had walked toward it with open eyes. They had known the fire could kill them, and they had gone in anyway. Not because they wanted to die, because they could not let others suffer. Vikkel stood beside Prin. The Karth came from a species that believed in strict self-preservation. Their entire culture was built around avoiding unnecessary risk. They would never sacrifice themselves for strangers. "I do not understand," Vikkel said quietly. "They died for people they had never met. People who might not even know their names. Why?" Prin had been thinking about this question for 3 days. He finally had an answer. "Because that is what humans are," he said. "Your planet tried to kill you for millions of years. It sent fire and floods and earthquakes and disease. And instead of becoming cold and selfish, you became the opposite. You learned that survival alone is not enough. You learned that life only matters if you can protect others." Vikkel clicked his mandibles slowly. The Deathworld did not make them cruel. It made them brave. Yes, that is more frightening than anything else. "Yes," Prin agreed. "It is." The memorial service ended. The families of the fallen firefighters were surrounded by supporters. Nobody was alone in their grief. Prin looked at the humans around him. These soft, fragile creatures with no natural weapons. These beings who ate poison for fun and built homes on volcanoes. He finally understood the Deathworld. Classification. It was not about the planet. It was about what the planet had created. Part 5. Graduation. The exchange program lasted 3 months. By the end, the 12 alien students were not the same beings who had arrived on that rainy March morning. They had changed. Prin walked through the streets of Seoul without fear now. He no longer flinched at thunderstorms or worried about rain touching his membrane. He had learned to enjoy the chaos of the city, the noise and crowds that had once overwhelmed him. He had even tried more human food. After the barbecue on Jeju Island, he had experimented with different flavors. Some made his form flicker strangely. Some made him feel sick for hours. But some, like sweet rice cakes and mild vegetable soup, were actually pleasant. Vikkel had changed the most. The Karth student, who came from a species obsessed with self-preservation, had started taking walks alone. He sat in parks and watched humans play. He had even petted a dog. "It tried to lick my face," he reported afterward. "I believe it was a dominance display." "It means she likes you," Hana laughed. "The predator likes me. Excellent. I am now friends with a wolf descendant." Oleg still floated higher than before, staying away from plants and pollen. But the Mavari student had developed a fascination with human art. Oleg spent hours in museums, looking at paintings and sculptures that humans had created over thousands of years. "Your species has suffered so much," Oleg said one day. "War, disease, disaster. Yet you make such beautiful things. Why do you spend energy on art when survival is so difficult?" Professor Taiho thought about this. Perhaps because survival is so difficult. Art reminds us why we want to survive. It gives life meaning beyond just existing. That is profound. Humans have had a lot of time to think about these things. On the last day of the program, Ambassador Yuna organized a graduation ceremony. The alien students would receive certificates showing they had completed the first Galactic exchange program on Earth. They would return to their home planets as experts on human culture. But first, there was a reception in the campus garden. Humans and aliens mixed together, sharing food and conversation. Human students who had worked with the program said goodbye to the friends they had made. Some cried. Even some of the aliens made sounds that their translators identified as emotional distress. Jiwoo found Prin standing alone by a tree, looking at the sky. "Are you ready to leave?" Jiwoo asked. "I do not know," Prin admitted. 3 months ago, I wanted nothing more than to leave this planet. I thought I would die here. I thought everything on Earth was trying to kill me. And now? Now, I think I will miss it. Is that strange? Jiwoo smiled. Not strange at all. Earth grows on you, like a fungus. That is the most human joke you have ever made. Prin's form flickered with amusement. I've been here too long. When the reception ended, Yuna gathered everyone for the formal ceremony. She stood at a podium in front of the group, looking dignified and proud. 3 months ago, 12 brave students from 3 species arrived on Earth. They came to learn about humanity. They came to understand why our planet is classified as a death world. She paused and looked at the aliens. I think they learned more than they expected. I know we learned from them as well. This exchange program was a success not because of what we taught, but because of what we shared. We shared our world with beings who had never experienced anything like it. And they shared their perspectives with us. Taiho handed out certificates to each student. When Prin received his, he asked if he could speak. Yuna looked surprised but nodded. Prin floated to the podium. His form was calm and steady. 3 months ago, he had been terrified to speak in front of humans. Now he felt ready. I have studied the Galactic Database classification of Earth, he began. It lists many dangers. Seismic activity, extreme weather, predatory wildlife, toxic plants, unstable climate, pathogenic microorganisms. All of this is true. He looked at the humans in the audience, at Hana, who had helped them through every difficulty, at Taiho, who had answered their questions with endless patience, at Jiwoo, who had become a true friend, at Yuna, who had protected them and guided them. But the classification is incomplete. It says humans survive despite their world. This is wrong. Humans survive because of their world. The room was silent. Everyone was listening. Your planet tried to kill you. Every day, for millions of years. Fire and flood. Disease and disaster. Ice ages and meteor strikes. Your planet threw everything it had at you, and you refused to die. Prin's voice grew stronger. Other species evolved in gentle environments. My people developed on a stable moon where nothing ever changed. We became intelligent through peace and calm. But you evolved through war. War with your own planet. War with nature itself. Death was not something to fear. It was something to fight. He thought of the firefighters, of Yeri and Sangho who had given their lives to save strangers, of the old farmer Dongho who had refused to abandon his home, of the Hanye grandmother diving into the cold sea without equipment. The Death World classification should be updated. Earth is not dangerous because of what it does to humans. Earth is dangerous because of what it made you. You are soft. You have no claws, no venom, no armor. But you have something more powerful. You have stubbornness. You have courage. You have the ability to look at death and say, "Not today." Hana was crying. So was Jiwoo. Even Taiho wiped something from his eye. I came here afraid of your planet. I leave afraid of your species. But it is a good fear. A respectful fear. Because I know now that when the galaxy faces danger, humanity will not hide. You will run toward the fire. You will stand on shaking ground. You will fight for people you have never met. Prin lowered his form in the Velith gesture of deep respect. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be alive. I will share this lesson with my people. And I hope, one day, we can be brave like you. The applause lasted a long time. At the departure ceremony, the alien shuttle waited on the landing pad. The 12 students were preparing to board. Families and friends had come to say goodbye. Vikal approached Professor Taiho with a formal request. I wish to return, Dekorath said. I wish to study further. I wish to understand how humans face death without surrender. Taiho looked at Yuna. She smiled. The program will continue next year, Yuna said. You would be welcome as a returning student. But I must warn you, Earth does not get easier. It does not soften for visitors. I know. Vickle's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned to recognize as a smile. That is exactly why I wish to stay. Prin embraced Jiwoo as best as a Veloth could embrace anyone. Their species were so different. Their bodies were not even compatible for touch. But somehow, it did not matter. I will miss you, Jiwoo said. I will miss you too. And your terrifying food. Come back someday. I will make you try octopus. I do not know what that is, but I am already frightened. They both laughed. The shuttle lifted off as the sun set over Seoul. Prin pressed against the window, watching the city grow smaller. The lights of millions of humans flickered below. Somewhere down there, people were cooking dinner and walking dogs and complaining about the weather. Living their dangerous, beautiful lives, the shuttle rose higher. Korea became Asia. Asia became Earth, a blue and green sphere floating in the black of space. Clouds swirled over its surface. Storms were forming. Somewhere beneath those clouds, the ground was shaking and volcanoes were waiting. And predators were being petted like friends, and the humans were laughing. Prin turned away from the window and began composing his final report to the Galactic Academy. The Deathworld does not earn its name from its dangers, he wrote. It earns its name from its survivors. Humanity was forged in fire and shaped by catastrophe. They should have died 1,000 times. They should have surrendered to their planet and accepted extinction like so many species before them. He paused, thinking of Jiwoo's smile, of Hana's kindness, of the firefighters walking into flames. But they did not surrender. They are still here. And they are not afraid. He added one final line. The galaxy should be very grateful that humans are friendly. Because if they were not, no force in the universe could stop them. Prin sent the report and settled back for the long journey home. Outside the window, Earth disappeared into the distance. A tiny blue dot in the endless black. But Prin knew he would never forget. Some things stay with you forever. Even things that terrify you. Especially things that terrify you.